All right, we are back. Hey everybody, welcome to more of Great Ace Attorney. I have been waiting 4 days for a proper time to do this because Deltarune happened, and then I wanted to finish Yooka-Laylee because I thought it went as a good companion piece with the Nintendo Direct. But we're finally back. So how about we get back into things with episode 4 of Game 1 and see where this wonderful journey takes us. Well, wonderful journey, it's more like a heart-wrenching journey at this point, but you know, it's been enjoyable. The adventure of the clouded Kokoro. Kokoro?
I begin to think, Wilson, said Sholmes, turning his head languidly in my direction, that there is more to this case than that which we have observed. Indeed, that there may be another part to this story that we are yet to discover. His eyes wandered.
I always do love the style of these
rising
bits.
from his cup of herbal tea, leading him to the distant memory of that snowy evening. To the young lady collapsed on the pavement along Briar Road, and to the knife in her back. Lit in the soft glow of gas lamps, a most extraordinary scene had been set. And under the cover of a light fog, the curtain had risen silently on the insoluble mystery of our invisible killer.
Okay. Oh shit, are we back here? Does that mean we're gonna see, the man? Lord Chief Justice's office.
Did you sleep last night, Mr. Naruhodo?
No, not at all.
It was an enormous hotel, wasn't it? The rooms were so luxurious, I felt like we were staying in a palace. With all the gas lights twinkling, it was brighter than day, even in the middle of the night.
What about the enormous beds? After my time on the SS Buryo, I wasn't going to waste a single inch of that space. I spent the entire night rolling from one side of the mattress to the other.
Oh yeah, it really was the sort of night you can only dream of normally. Except, when I learned that we owed £3 for the rooms, that dream quickly turned into a nightmare.
Oops, sorry about that. The building was so impressive and the entrance so inviting, I just wandered in without thinking.
In a lodging house in Japan, that sum of money would put a roof over your head for a whole year. I did try, but I'm afraid I couldn't help my tears when we were presented that bill.
I really am sorry.
Well, never mind. We must find some more affordable lodging straight away, though. If we're not careful, our entire stipend will be used up in 10 days or less.
London is a scary place. Ah, good morning to you at this early hour. Oh, is that who I think it is? Oh, hi! Hi! I'm horny! Oh, yes, well, well! Hi!
Good morning to you, Lord Chief Justice. We've come to report on the outcome of the trial at the Old Bailey yesterday.
Sato-san is amazing. She doesn't bat an eyelid, even in the presence of the imposing Lord Strongheart. Yes, I believe you had a very comprehensive initiation into British courtroom practices. Oh, yes, it was very, eye-opening. Thank you.
And in accordance with your instructions, Lord Strongheart, Mr. Naruhodo performed his duty to the end.
Yes, I've already been apprised of events. You conducted a remarkable defense. You may consider the test passed. Oh! No longer are you a student from the Empire of Japan. You may henceforth claim to be a fully fledged lawyer. Hell yeah, hell yeah. My country is delighted to welcome young talent from such a remote eastern land.
Thank you very much. So, I'm a lawyer now.
Now, in view of your new appointment, I have a fresh case in mind for you. I'd like you to take it on at once. I trust that won't be a problem. Oh, no, not at all. Anything for you.
Another case? Already?
Nothing trains a lawyer better than practical experience. I'm sure I don't sense dissatisfaction, do I? It's just that yesterday's trial ended unusually. I haven't quite come to terms with it. What's to come to terms with? The man was cleared. What more were you hoping for? Well, that man was also a rat bastard. The culpability of the defendant has not at the present time been established by this court. Consequently, the jury will not be required to deliver judgment.
Well, Lord Van Zieks, it's been a pleasure, so it has. And as for you, my dear fella, I couldn't have asked for a better defense.
I mean, yeah, he sure did just do evil cartoon villain laugh in front of the entire fucking courtroom. I just can't help wondering if Mr. McGilded really was innocent? Absolutely not. He was not innocent. Mr. Naruhodo? It's just that I never managed to ascertain the truth. And then the trial ended. Well, you needn't let it trouble you for a second longer. Sorry? What do you mean, Lord Strongheart? Magnus McGilded passed away. Oh? Immediately following the trial. Huh. No! What? Mr. McGilded is dead? Did he die in the burning thing from last time? Because that would check out, but also, like, I have 19 minutes and 41 seconds until my next engagement. Time enough to talk. Oh, I could have all the time in the world to talk with you, sir. Please, tell me more about this. I don't understand! What happened? How could he be dead? After the trial concluded yesterday, there was a great commotion in the Old Bailey. As you'll presumably recall, an omnibus had been wheeled into the courtroom. Yes, of course, that was the scene of the crime which Mr. McGilded had been accused of. Precisely. Well, while the bailiff's attention was diverted by some other matter, the omnibus went up in flames. No. How could such a thing have happened? That is being investigated as we speak, but already the police identified a corpse found inside the charred shell of the carriage as that of McGilded. Ugh, damn. That's awful! That man must have slipped inside whilst the bailiff's attention was elsewhere. The bailiff really needs to pay more attention. And how could that have happened? That is also being investigated as we speak. Thinking back now, immediately after the trial, Mr. McGilded did mention going back into the courtroom to look at the omnibus. Well, I must be making tracks now. 'Tis the time for inspection. Sorry, what inspection? They're going to examine the omnibus again, so I'm told. I asked if I could be present for it myself. An inspection of the omnibus? Not to my knowledge. I don't believe Scotland Yard had any intention of re-examining the carriage. But then who is Mr. McGilded talking about? Never mind that now. The Yard is making a thorough investigation. The matter is no longer any concern of yours. Leave it to the police. Poor Mr. McGilded. I mean, he definitely seems like a rat bastard, but I don't think anybody deserves burning to death. Jesus. So, how did you find your first taste of our country's Supreme Court? Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, it was... wow! Mr. Naruhodo means that the whole experience was steeped in the solemnity of Great Britain's long history. It's really a world apart from our own judicial system in Japan, which is only a few short decades old. Wow, Susato-san has such a way with words. And you seem to have a way of failing to find the right ones. Jesus, okay, you didn't need to kill me like that. The judicial system here is the most advanced in the world. Learn all you can. The most advanced in the world, is it? Isn't it? It was fortunate. that your very first trial was a simple affair.
Simple? That was simple?
As I believe I mentioned yesterday morning, it was a trial you couldn't lose.
I don't mean to be contrary, Lord Strongheart, but that case was anything but simple.
The circumstances of the case were so incriminating, I was stunned when I first heard them. In fact, I'm still finding it hard to believe that we managed to get a favorable verdict. Is something funny? No, my apologies. However, the fact is that you did receive the not guilty verdict you set out to achieve. And that can only be attributed to exceptional talent. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, never mind. You exceed my expectations, I freely admit. That much at least is an undeniable truth, which is precisely why I prepared the new case for you that I mentioned before.
What's going on? What was he going to say before? Would you perhaps give us some more details about the new case you mentioned?
Don't tell me. It's a murder and the trial starts in 10 minutes. Don't worry, it's nothing so alarming or quite so urgent as your last assignment. In fact, this case is completely different.
Oh, I see. Did he just read my mind?
That is to say, no one has died as yet.
Ah.
And the trial will not be today. There is plenty of time to research the case thoroughly.
Oh, sure, we're finally getting our first investigation and trial combo case? Hell yeah.
23 hours, 43 minutes, and 19 seconds to be precise.
So the trial's tomorrow then. Is everything alright? Oh, yes, I'm just a little confused, that's all. Yesterday's trial was, well, it's left me wondering if I'm really cut out for being a lawyer. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo. I don't know if I could face standing in that courtroom again after Mr. McGilded's trial.
Ah, yes, I nearly forgot. There was one similarity with yesterday's case. Once again, there is currently no one to advocate for the defense.
Oh!
So if the situation remains unchanged, the trial will start tomorrow with the defendant unrepresented. And if that happens, I need not remind you of the inevitable outcome.
The most terrible end awaits the defendant.
Yes, that's right. Here we go again. Aw, heck. Your time is up. You will have to excuse me. I would advise you to begin making preparations for tomorrow's trial. After all, the clock is ever ticking. There is now but 23 hours, 26 minutes, and 39 seconds until the court sits. Last time he mentioned the 23 hours, he said there was plenty of time. And one more thing, Mr. Naruhodo. There is something I should like to ask you.
Oh, what's that?
Yesterday, you remarked upon something that you intend to see through the will of your late compatriot, Mr. Asogi.
Yeah.
I would be interested to hear what exactly you mean by that. Inside 34 seconds.
Oh, well, Kazuma always used to say, you see, they wanted to learn how the greatest justice system in the world worked so we could change ours in Japan. Now that he's gone, I'd like to work towards that myself. And there's another thing. Oh!
Another thing? Continue.
On the way here, on the steamship, he said something to me about, well, there's something very important I have to do.
Something very important?
And what exactly would that be? He never had a chance to tell me. I suppose he would have done if he'd ever made it to the Great Britain.
You're out of time. Well, thank you for an enlightening discussion.
Mr. Naruhodo, what's this all about? Mr. Asogi never once mentioned anything of the sort to me.
I urge you both to focus your attentions on the matter at hand. I've taken the liberty of summoning the police inspector in charge of the case.
Who is this?
He'll be able to apprise you of the details.
How long has he been there?
So, I wish you the best of luck, and I bid you farewell.
There's something very important I have to do. Kazuma-sama, what did you mean?
I wish I knew, but honestly, he never told me. Anyway, we had better talk to the detective, don't you think?
Yes, you're right.
I hope I'm just imagining it, but I wouldn't say he looks pleased to see us at all. Alright, sir. What's your deal? Could we trouble you? What do you think? Ah! He sounds like Luigi. Lovely weather, isn't it? What's the weather got to do with anything, eh? Listen to me, you young Japanese upstart. Some frippery about the weather doesn't get every English gent eaten out of your hand, you know? But Susato-san told me it was foolproof. I'm a busy man, a very busy man. There's a crime scene to investigate, but I'm here having to give the likes of you a talking to. Oh, I'm ever so sorry. Can you imagine what the other officers there will be saying? Haven't seen Gregson anywhere, have you? No, he's too busy with the bigwigs these days. And all because of some bumpkin who's here on a jaunt from a country I've never even heard of. Hear that ripping sound? That's my reputation at the yard going to tatters. There's no need to rip us apart as well. I don't believe we've been introduced. This is me, Mrs. Excuse me for a second. This is Mr. Ryunosuke Naruhodo. He's a defense lawyer. Eh? It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Eh? It's lovely weather we're having today, isn't it? It is unseasonably fine, I grant you. London winters don't see a lot of sunshine. Unbelievable! How did she pull that off? That happened very quickly, yes. So, Lord Strongheart has asked me to fill you in on the case. The name's Tobias Gregson, Inspector Gregson to you. I'm from Scotland Yard. Gregson? Inspector Gregson? What's the matter with Susato-san? Does this detective's name mean something to her? What's up, buddy? Tell me a little bit about yourself. Inspector, are you perhaps the Inspector Gregson? You're acting like you know this man, Miss Susato, but he's a London detective. Oh, I do know him. Very well, in fact. Very well? Yes, he features prominently in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Oh, in that publication. What's it called again? Ranced Magazine? That's right. Inspector Gregson and Mr. Sholmes enjoy a wonderful friendly rivalry. Really? You rival the great Mr. Sholmes? That's incredible. Oh, well, I don't know about that. Mr. Sholmes isn't a professional like myself, of course. But he does come up with the goods from time to time. Mr. Sholmes is equally complimentary about you, Inspector, isn't he? You've earned his highest praise. Gregson is the pick of a bad lot of all the Scotland Yarders. Those were his own words. That's his highest praise? Well, Mr. Sholmes isn't particularly known for giving compliments, you see. That he is not, and thanks to that magazine, my name's known all over London town now. That's great, isn't it? I have to admit that to start with, I was a little, flattered by all of the attention. Everyone wanted to shake my hand, and my reputation at the yard went through the roof. Well, that's wonderful. No, it is not! There's nothing more sinister than the man on the street. People are always looking at me now. They're whispering rumors about me under their breath, I'm sure. Rumors? Are you quite sure? He's changed since he started appearing in those stories. The fame's gone to his head. Stuff like that. Gosh, do you really think people are saying such mean-spirited things about you? Like I said, they whisper, so I can't catch exactly what they're saying, but I know what these folk are like. I'm sure that's what they're saying. As sure as eggs is eggs. I get the feeling this detective could be very hard work. Oh dear, perhaps a sudden rise to fame does change people. Perhaps, perhaps. So, about Barry, come on. So, about the case that Lord Chief Justice mentioned before. Nothing to tell, really. As far as we're concerned at the Yard, it couldn't be simpler.
Oh dear, this probably means that, as far as we're concerned as lawyers, it couldn't be more complicated.
I wish you were wrong about that, but I have a nasty feeling you're right. A young woman was walking along the pavement on a Briar Road when she was stabbed from behind. Fortunately, it wasn't fatal, but she's still laid up in the hospital, unconscious.
That's despicable! What sort of coward would attack the poor woman from behind?
I suppose you would have finished whoever it was off with a Susato takedown, would you?
That's neither here nor there, Mr. Naruhodo.
Brace yourself, Ryunosuke. You've angered her now. Anyway, after something of a whirlwind investigation, the criminal was arrested. He barely had time for a cup of tea after the incident took place, to be honest. So, there must have been something left at the scene that led you directly to the culprit.
Or perhaps a reliable witness who recognized the person in question?
Let me stop you right there. You're wasting your time on this one. Sorry? There's nothing you can do. There's no way to help the bloke now. Why not? Simple. The prosecutor that's been assigned to the trial tomorrow is Lord Barak Van Zeeks. Oh, God. No! Sounds like you've heard of him, then.
Oh yes, we are very familiar with Lord Van Zeeks. Believed to be the harbinger of death itself.
The Reaper of the Bailey. Lord Barak Van Zeeks, who we faced in court only yesterday.
Mr. McGildis...
McGildis?
Mr. McGilded told us all about him before the trial, didn't he?
When Van Zeek stands for the prosecution, they call the accused his sacrificial lambs. And in every single trial in which he's been the prosecutor, the accused has been damned. This Reaper of the Bailey nickname, I suppose he's earned that because every defendant he advocates against is found guilty. Is that it?
Well, if that's the case, we should inform you, Inspector, that in yesterday's trial against Lord Van Zeeks, Mr. Naruhodo secured a verdict of not guilty.
And what of it?
Oh, well, I think, that means even against the Reaper of the Bailey, it's not impossible to save the defendant.
No, you really don't have a clue, do you? What do you mean? What happened to that bloke in the end, eh? He's dead. Duh! Magnus and McGilded came a cropper in that omnibus when it went up in the flames. So you can't rightly say you saved the defendant, can you?
What are you saying?
Look, if Van Zeeks could get the dirt to stick on everyone, he'd be a miracle worker. But that's not how it goes. He doesn't work miracles. He works magic. Black magic. I'd have a good long look about that. A good long think about that. If I were you.
Are we really supposed to believe that?
Right, well, I've filled you in as requested, and I'm very nearly out of chips. So I'll be heading back to the crime scene now. We're still carrying out a few investigations there.
It was Briar Road, you said, didn't you? Where the incident took place?
That's correct, ma'am. And if you head over to the holding cells, you can meet the criminal himself. You've branded him a criminal already? He's as good as. Shaking like a leaf in his cell, he is. I'll give you a chuckle if nothing else. He's in He's inmate 53. Speak to the jailer and he'll show you the way.
Inmate 53. Thank you.
So there's no helping anyone against the Reaper of the Bailey, they say.
Is something troubling you, Mr. Naruhodo? To tell the truth, when I recall the trial yesterday, I can't stop myself from shaking. The idea of facing the Reaper in court again is, well, If you think it's too much for you, there's no shame in turning the case down. That takes courage, too.
But if the man they've arrested is innocent, you could well imagine he would be shaking like a leaf in his cell. And I, for one, wouldn't find the sight of that funny.
So,
If I'm honest, I'm still reeling from the shock of yesterday's events myself. And I'm not really sure if I'll be able to help this man, whoever he is. But I'd like to try. So I think I'm going to make some inquiries. Will you help?
did you really think you had to ask? After all, I am your judicial assistant.
Hell yeah. Thank you. So then, shall we?
Yes, let's go.
Alright. The scene of the crime, or how about we go, yeah, let's go visit prison. Oh, yeah, it sure is. So these are British prison cells.
Oh, they're ghastly. It just feels like a dungeon.
Yes, and having experienced it in Japan myself, I can assure you our wooden cells feel a lot cozier than these stone-cold walls.
Oh, don't, Mr. Naruhodo. You're making it seem worse.
Apparently our client is in this cell here, but it's so dark at the back there I can't make him out. I wonder what he's like. Inmate 53, your legal representative is here to see you. Stop hiding at the back of the cell and show your face at once. Am I a cat as yet with no name? Who is this? Calling me by a number. It's utterly, unbelievably, unjustly unreasonable. I refuse to answer.
Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think is going on here?
I have no idea, but I wasn't just hearing things. Who? That tirade of complaints was in Japanese. Oh? Hello? Excuse me, but what? Shh! Quiet! They're all around, hiding. I know they are. They're watching, listening. Even now, I can sense it. Right. So, could I ask you, who exactly... There you are! You've come to curse me, haven't you? Don't try and hide it, you're a ghost! A ghost?
We mean you no harm, Prisoner-san. Are you Japanese by any chance?
This is beyond my wildest dreams. It'll be okay, buddy. Just talk to us. Forgive me for that outburst before. I'm so sorry. Oh, it's fine. We were just a little surprised. That's all. Imagine it! It's been 12 long months since I left my hometown, and here I am, in a frightful fix in a foreign land. So hearing the sweet, sentimental tones of a compatriot's voice here in this damp, dark hellhole was a most monumentally moving moment! Who could have guessed that this new client Lord Strongheart assigned to us would turn out to be a fellow Japanese? Ugh. What compassion my fellow countrymen show to dispatch a first-class lawyer all the way from Japan to defend a mere foreign student. Noble, nurturing, never-failing Nippon.
A first-class lawyer?
A first-class lawyer? Oh dear, I think there's been something of a misunderstanding here.
I wonder, would you be so kind as to tell us what's happened? Why you've been detained as a suspect, for example.
Yes, I can. I will. Shan't stay sullen and silent.
I'm not quite sure I understand what he means, but he seems happy.
Yes, he does. I just hope he actually has a good reason to be. Thank you for your cooperation. I'm a lawyer, as you said. My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
And I am Naruhodo-san's judicial assistant, Susato Mikotoba.
I am a visiting student sent here by our government. notably, notoriously named Natsume. Soseki Natsume. If there's a pun, I don't understand it. Soseki Natsume. Soseki Natsume-san? What an unusual name. Call me Soseki, please. I'm a poet, you see, a writer of haiku. Let me check up real quick. 44 is Luigi's age right here. The detective inspector in charge of Scotland Yard's investigation of the case. A stern, single-minded in his approach, and a great lover of fish and chips. 33, a scholar sent to Britain by the Japanese government to further his study of English. He's a defendant accused of attempted murder. It's something of a nom de plume. A nom de plume? You mean an Elias?
That's right, Naruhodo-san.
No, don't be so prosaic. It's much more refined than that.
And haiku? That really reminds me of home. Did I hear you say that you were a visiting student sent over here by the government?
Yes, that's right. A year ago, I was told to go and study English. First, I had to suffer that misery, and now this! It's beyond the pale!
Suffer that misery? Did you not want to study here?
No, I mean, I've had an interest in Great Britain for some years, of course.
Oh.
But just because the government tells you to do something doesn't mean you can do it. No!
What do you mean?
If they told me to study English literature, that I could have understood. That's my field. But no, they told me to study the English language. Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly unreasonable.
I see.
Only the other day, I was told to send a report about my first year here. I tendered a blank piece of paper. Wise words on white whooshy.
You must be a man of great standing.
Oh yes, so I'm often told. And often like to be told, it seems. The accusation... Yeah, tell me about that, buddy. Come on. Give me the deeds.
Could you perhaps tell us exactly why you've been arrested, Soseki-san?
I didn't do it! I didn't commit that atrocious murder!
Murder?
Oh, no, it's all right. The woman didn't actually die, did she? But she was stabbed with a knife! Right before my eyes!
Before your eyes? You mean you saw the attacker?
I didn't see anyone.
What?
If I'd seen the person who did it, you think I'd be locked up in here?
Oh dear, it seems this case is becoming rather complicated.
Why me? Why me? Why did that silly woman have to be stabbed in front of me?
Oh yes, she's so silly for being fucking stabbed. Jesus, man.
It's the curse of London! It's incredibly, inexcusably, irritatingly inconvenient.
So Soseki-san was there at the scene, but he didn't see the attacker. It's vital that we find out more about this case. Alright, yeah, tell me what you can.
It was an accursed evening, just after the snow had started to clear and heavy with fog. I'd been to the bookshop to buy some books, and I was on my way back to the accursed lodgings.
Sure the bookshop wasn't accursed too?
As I was walking along that accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman, wearing a green overcoat she was, and as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed onto the cold, hard slabs of stone at my feet. How terrible! I called out to the woman, but she didn't move. It was like a ghostly, ghoulish, grim graveyard.
Slight exaggeration there, perhaps?
I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran as fast as my legs would carry me back to my accursed lodgings.
That's not good.
They'll say it was shameful, I know, to run away like that.
Tell me, Soseki-san, was the victim an acquaintance of yours?
Don't be ridiculous! Do you think I know any of these fair-haired English, and a young woman at that? I'm diffident, shy, timid, unsure. I can't talk to people.
Man, I felt that. I see. A young woman, unknown to Soseki-san. At the time it happened, who else did you see nearby? Did anybody pass you?
Regrettably. Apart from myself and the woman, I didn't see a soul. No one? Oh, great.
So the victim was unknown to you and there was nobody else on the street at the time. That creates something of a conundrum, doesn't it?
What conundrum? Conundrum, that's a funny little word. What do you mean, Sasato-san? What's the conundrum?
Well, if what Soseki-san has just told us is true, there's something I can't explain. He says I didn't know the victim and that there was no one else at the scene. Then he apparently fled without having been seen.
I did!
But if that's the case,
Surely this man has to be the culprit. Ah! You... What did you just say? Nothing. I didn't say anything. Oops, perhaps I thought that a little loudly.
actually, that's not what was troubling me. What I was thinking was, how did Soseki-san actually come to be arrested?
Oh, that's a good question. Sorry?
He didn't touch the victim, and there was nobody at the scene to see him. So how did the police ever discover that he was there in the first place?
Oh yeah, she's right. It was him. That accursed great detective. He led the police to me. Of all the bad luck.
Accursed great detective?
Could it be? I shall never forget that man's name as long as I live. With his haughty laugh and his self-proclaimed greatness. Brash, big-headed busybody, be gone! May you be cursed until the end of your days, Hairlock Sholmes! I knew it. God damn it, we're gonna meet him again.
Mr. Sholmes?
Well, I didn't expect to hear that name from this man's lips, that's for sure. It was the morning after that nightmare had unfolded on the pavement before me. I was gnawing on a piece of silver I was gnawing on a sliver of hard cheese when some men suddenly burst in through the door. They started shouting at me. This is the police, put the weapon down. Yes, it was a thin sliver, and yes, it was hard, but I wasn't eating a weapon. Disgusting dietary discrimination, devils!
You clearly had a trying morning yesterday.
And there he was in the middle of all the policemen, grinning like a Cheshire cat. That Hairlock Sholmes?
It's actually just Herlock Sholmes. He's English.
I've since found out he's a famous name in detection here in London.
Yes, the great detective is really very well known.
And his overly sharp mind managed to deduce my whereabouts, apparently. He thinks I'm the knife-wielding madman. Me? This weak, stooped kitten of a man?
I wonder what great deduction process led him to this conclusion at the time. Do you mean to say that Mr. Sholmes' deduction was the only reason the police arrested you? That would be really most unreasonable.
Well, the thing is, I was thrown into a panic when they barged their way in.
Of course you were, that's only natural.
I was terrified and trembling, and they kept throwing question after question at me in impossible English. Fiendish foreign flimflammery!
Flimflammery, whoops. Well, we are in England. You can't really blame them for questioning you in English.
Good point, but my mind went blank. I knew I had the answer, but I didn't know what to say. So I just kept repeating things like, yes, I do, and I'm fine.
Is that a Mother Hecking Apollo Justice reference?
Next thing I knew, I was in manacles, and before I knew it, I was thrown in here.
Oh dear, I'm afraid that's hardly surprising.
I'm fine? He's not fine now. Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire! Oh, you can just call me Naruhodo. And when we're speaking English, a simple mister is more than enough. Oh, yes, alright. Yes, they've really got me. They've really got to me. This country is poisoning my mind. But please, I beg you to defend me in court tomorrow. You can tell them what really happened. You'll do it, won't you? Well, Why? Why is it so hard to say yes to me? Well, the thing is, I'm just a student like yourself on a study tour. A student? I've defended a case in the Old Bailey. Only the one, though. But at this moment in time, I really don't know what I'm supposed to believe in. I'm confused about what justice in this country even means. Oh, Naruhodo-san. I'm not even the foreign student who was supposed to be here. I'm sort of a locum lawyer, I suppose. But that armband! That's a mark of a defense lawyer from our great empire! It's a keepsake from the man who should have been here. He was my best friend. A keepsake? Oh, shit. I know exactly what they're saying about me. Oh, who do you mean? The lawyers, all the British defense lawyers, they won't defend me. Goodness, why do you say that? For the same reason as you noted before. When it happened, there was only the victim and myself around, and I ran away from the scene of the crime. I'm not a fool. I know it looks as though I must be the culprit. It must be very hard for you, Soseki-san. And anyway, I'm a student from overseas. I'm just a foreign nobody to them. Someone not to be trusted. I heard them openly laughing about me before. In my earshot, without any compunction at all. Any trial for this man would be a waste of time, they said, and of course the foreigner did it. They even had the gall to say the man doesn't understand half of what's being said anyway. That's awful. They're wrong! I've studied more English than half of the policemen out there on the streets. I've traveled halfway around the world to learn about these people's country and its great history. But no one here wants to listen to a man with a strange accent. They all hate me. So, at the very least, I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who can listen to me in my native tongue. You could do it, couldn't you? When I look into your eyes, I can see it. I can see what you've been through. Soseki-san, it's just that... Give me a little time, please. Huh? I'll do what I can, for the time being. What do you mean? We shall investigate the case as thoroughly as possible. If we can find some clues, it'll give us a much better chance, I'm sure. Oh, yes, thank you. I'll be here, all alone, waiting for you, locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. We should be going then, Naruhodo-san. We have a case to prepare for. Yeah, let's get to the scene of the crime. Wait, can I examine that? No, I cannot. Wow, they won't. Wow, what a downgrade from the original Ace Attorney games. You can examine the cell. I'm joking. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm gonna need. Oh, it's nice and very London-y outside. Briar Road. Oh, look at that snowman. So this is where it happened. Briar Road. Look, Mr. Naruhodo! Look at that regulation metal helmet. It's unmistakable. The men of Scotland Yard are here. They're investigating as we speak. That is their job, you know? Mr. Naruhodo, to see one with my own eyes. They're often depicted in the adventures of Herlock Sholmes, but I never dreamed I'd ever come this close. To a real Bobby's helmet. What? The helmet? Of course! I have to try one on one day. Well, I hope your Hattie dream comes true. Oh, hey, Luigi. What's the Japanese delegation doing here? Oh, Inspector Gregson!
This isn't on the tourist trail, as I'm fairly sure you're well aware.
Yes, of course. We're here to investigate.
So you've been to the holding cells then? What do you make of the criminal?
He's not a criminal as you put it, Inspector. He's a suspect.
We'll see about that. You Japanese like to stick together, I suppose.
Jesus, fuck off. God, we're just helping a man because we want to. It doesn't have anything to do with...
Well, do what you will. Doesn't bother me. The bloke's in court tomorrow, whatever happens, and the verdict's a foregone conclusion.
Stone cold air of rejection.
Take heart. London at this time of year is full of stone cold air.
That makes it worse somehow.
Tell me about Scotland Yard, Inspector. Ever since I read about it in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, I've been fascinated by the place.
The Yard is the most sophisticated policing organization you'll find anywhere in the world, ma'am.
Oh, and you know, I've always dreamt of wearing a real Bobby's helmet.
It does make them look the part, seeing that policeman there with his helmet on. You certainly get the sense that this is a man who will take no nonsense in his duty of protecting the city.
Oh yeah, doesn't he look wonderful?
Being a London Bobby is hard going, I can tell you.
Oh really?
First thing in the morning, you know what he does? Goes around and rouses all the laborers on his beat so they can get off to work.
What, he wakes people up?
Yup, raps on their window with a long pole. Did it myself, going back a bit.
I had no idea.
The Bobby works for the people of the town. It's just another one of his duties. After that, he starts tirelessly patrolling the streets all the day long. He has to cover 20 miles a day. That's the regulation distance.
I can't really imagine how far that is, but it sounds like a long way.
Let me see. 20 miles, that's approximately a distance from Tokyo to Yokohama.
On foot? That's definitely taking things a step too far.
When it gets dark, of course, he has the important job of lighting all the gas street lamps.
Oh my.
I suppose in between all those duties, Bobbies are expected to investigate cases as well.
And chase after criminals trying to evade the law?
I'm not sure you could call it in between exactly, more alongside. But yes, they're expected to handle these jobs as well. We do have men keeling over from time to time, I admit.
I always dreamt of wearing one of those helmets, as I said. But it's with a heavy heart that I shall have to relinquish that dream to you, Mr. Naruhodo.
Your heavy heart will be my heavy head if you do.
It happened at around 5 in the evening, 2 days ago, just there on that open bit of pavement. The victim, a young woman, was stabbed with a blade from behind.
Is it right that the lady is still unconscious now? You mentioned that she's being treated in the hospital.
I never said she was a lady. Truth is, unless she comes around pretty smartish, we won't be able to find out much about her at all.
I suppose that means I haven't been able to take a statement from her, of course.
Here's a map of the local area I happen to have on me. You can take it if you want.
Really? Are you sure?
It's Yard policy to give lawyers, defendant, suspects the odd bit of information to go on.
I haven't actually accepted the job yet, but still.
Thank you, Inspector. We gracefully accept.
A street map of the local area showing where the victim was found.
Anyway, as far as we know, there was no one else on the scene other than the victim and your fellow countryman. So who did it, do you think? Not much of a head scratcher, is it?
Well, I know Mr. Natsume is also claiming not to have seen anyone else around, but...
Just because he didn't see anyone, it doesn't mean we can be sure that nobody else was present.
I'm sorry to have to tell you, but we most certainly can be sure.
How?
Because, ma'am, the precise moment of the stabbing didn't go unnoticed.
It what?
We have two very reliable witnesses, no less. It was a typical foggy London day, and your client obviously didn't see them.
There were witnesses now?
Who are these witnesses, Inspector?
A fellow and his wife, and the man's one of the most reliable and respected citizens in all of London. He's a copper from Scotland Yard.
A policeman? That might change things.
And this policeman just happened to be there at the exact moment the woman was attacked?
Nothing peculiar about that, ma'am. Part and parcel of being a bobby. Catching them banging the act and all that.
Do you think it might be possible for us to ask that policeman a few questions?
Be my guest. You can ask him what you like. In court tomorrow.
Oh.
I've no doubts he'll be summoned as a witness. So that'll give you something to look forward to.
That's that then. He's got no intention of letting us meet the man beforehand, it seems.
A policeman witnessed the incident. As your judicial assistant, I must warn you this could make our job very difficult indeed.
Yes, as a non-judicial assistant, I could have warned me about that too. Damn, Ryu, like, she's just trying to help. Oh yes, one more thing, Inspector.
What?
The person who led you to the suspect, I hear that was Mr. Herlock Sholmes?
What are you bringing him up for?
Was it something I said? The color drained from his cheeks. You know he doesn't like that dude.
That twitchy Japanese bloke goes on trial tomorrow. Are you going to defend him or not?
Well,
Makes no difference to me, but I will just say this. No London lawyer worth his salt would touch that case with a barge pole.
As the prosecution is being handled by the Reaper of the Bailey, you mean? There's no way to save the man now.
It's a waste of time trying. It is a bit strange, though.
Sorry?
The Reaper, he hasn't appeared in court once for a good few years now.
Yeah, we did hear something to that effect.
And the only people he usually bothers with are the real scum. The master criminals.
The violent ones.
Master criminals? The violent ones?
That's right, he handpicks his victims. Only deals with those guaranteed to go to the gallows for their sins.
But Mr. Natsume wouldn't hang for what he's accused of, surely?
That's just my point, sunshine. Yes, the young woman was stabbed, but it didn't kill her. Couldn't even say the intent was there. So this isn't the sort of case I'd be expecting the Reaper to want to sink his teeth into, for want of a better phrase.
Well, it's not exactly a minor infraction, is it?
No, there's got to be more to it. For some reason, he's taken an interest.
Really? What sort of reason, Inspector?
You think I can tell what's going on inside the head of that Lord of Darkness? You'll have to ask him yourself at tomorrow's trial.
Are we really going to have to face the Reaper again? The Lord of Darkness, as he puts it. Alright, let's get on to Sholmes.
Who did you hear that name from?
Oh, well, it was Mr. Natsume who mentioned it. He said that Mr. Sholmes was with the police when they entered his lodgings.
I'm sure it was the result of one of Mr. Sholmes' inspirational great deductions.
Ah, fiddle faddle.
Ugh!
That man's an amateur, and I'm a-getting sick and tired of showing his mug everywhere.
Oh.
I don't know where he gets his information from, but he turns up at the scene of the crime, wanders around spouting the incomprehensible rubbish, and before you know it, he claims to have solved the case.
Yes, he's quite, astounding, isn't he? He is a great help to Scotland Yard, though, isn't he?
Ah, gibble gabble.
Ah!
Ever seen this before?
Oh, yes, that's, Rance Magazine.
The wonderful publication in which the adventures of Herlock Sholmes appears.
Yes, well, that wonderful publication, as you put it, sees fit to include several of the Yard's detective stories, and the so-called Great Detective makes a mockery of all of us. If you ask anyone at the Yard, it's a misadventure to be included in any Herlock Sholmes tale at all.
Well, I suppose there is an element of that.
We work our socks off, every one of us, only to be frumped by the public thanks to that obnoxious detective. That man's as dangerous to us at Scotland Yard as he is to all our criminals.
That can't really be true, can it, Inspector?
Clearly, the Great Detective and the police have a complex relationship. Well, don't think we're going to get any more useful information out of the detective.
Mr. Naruhodo, can I make a suggestion?
Oh, yes? What is it?
Well, it seems to me that we must speak with him about this.
By him, do you mean Mr. Sholmes?
Yes, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, exactly.
Look at those shining eyes. You can't wait, can you? Well, Mr. Natsume did blame Mr. Sholmes for all this, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He really did. Which makes him an involved party in the case. Are you just going to ignore that? I hope not. I assure you it's not simply my selfish desire to meet with Mr. Sholmes again.
The trouble is, we have no idea the man's address even.
It's Baker Street.
How do you know that?
It's in the stories, of course. 221B Baker Street, the most famous address in the world.
Oh, I see. I mean, can't get doxxed if you dox yourself. Well, nothing's to stop us from going, I suppose. We better try to find our way there before Susato-san gets any more excited and unpredictable.
Hurrah! I'll summon a carriage.
So we're to have a reunion already with the great detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Let me look around.
Oh, that's a Scotland Yard carriage. They use vehicles like that to rush to crime scenes and cart away criminals.
You're very well informed, aren't you?
It's long been a dream of mine to ride one of those through the streets of London.
Well, just pick up a stone and throw it through one of the windows then.
But that would be mean. But that would mean being arrested in order to ride it. Wouldn't it? Still, if it's the only way, help me find a good stone.
No, I wasn't serious. Funny snowman.
What a delightful snowman.
I didn't realize the English had a tradition of making snowmen as well. It looks a little creepy though.
Oh, it has a scarf, look.
You'd need one if you were out in this freezing cold all the time. I wish I had one.
I'm afraid our budget is somewhat frozen at the moment, too. We can't afford a scarf.
Certainly a snowman here wouldn't miss his.
But the person who made the snowman certainly would.
Yeah, I know. You're right. Anyway, even if I borrowed it, it wouldn't do much to warm my neck, would it? It's covered in snow. Damn. That's one of the officers from Scotland Yard. The police are making sure the crime scene is undisturbed. I have a feeling if we wander too close, we'll be clapped in irons. They'll clap our cheeks.
I think you're being a bit overcautious. We've done nothing wrong, so we have no cause for concern.
Oh no, I'm not getting caught out again. Twice is enough. Twice I found myself in handcuffs despite not knowing a thing about what was going on. A lot more times if you count all the times Herlock took them off and put them back on.
Yes, you've had some dreadful experiences. I'm sure it's that wide-eyed look of panic you're so prone to. It does you no favors at all.
Anything else to look around? Also, this theme is great.
That's a rather typical old brick building, isn't it? I'm sure it has a long and interesting history.
Well, time certainly seems to have taken its toll on the place. It's crooked and sagging all over. In fact, it looks in decidedly worse shape than the other houses around here.
We must find some cheap lodgings ourselves as soon as possible.
Yeah, you're right. Cheap, but ideally with reasonably level floors. Anything else? I mean, there's this warped-ass bicycle.
Oh, a British bicycle, look! Although the wheel is so misshapen, I'm sure it couldn't possibly be ridden anymore.
Someone must have been doing some breakneck cycling.
It seems bicycles have become extremely popular in London recently. There's even a movement to change women's dress to allow them to ride as well.
The bicycle fad won't last. I don't see why anyone would want to ride something like that.
Goodness, do you dislike bicycles?
No, not at all. I mean, it's not that I dislike them exactly. It's just that any occupation that involves taking both your feet off firm ground seems, reckless. If you ever tried walking on stilts and falling into a river, I know you'd agree with me. Rio, have you walked on stilts and fallen into a river?
I'll have to hire a bicycle sometime. You can sit behind me while I ride you around.
That'd be cute. You see all the black smoke rising from the chimneys over there?
It says here that in Great Britain, many people heat their homes in winter using coal. The only chimneys I really remember seeing in Japan were on top of the bathhouse. Do you think some of those houses could be on fire? Not at all. Well, even so, that much thick smoke billowing up to the heavens is surely gonna turn the whole sky black sooner or later. Gosh, you may be right about that. Damn. Oh, look at the windows of that building there. Are you sure they're windows? Yes, but they're all filled in with bricks. Oh, you're right. I wonder why. Perhaps it's an empty property where nobody lives at the moment? There's smoke coming from the chimneys, though. Oh dear, everything still feels so foreign. There's so much we have to learn about this place. Well, I think that's everything I want to investigate around here. We're good. Let's move to Sholmes Suite. 221B Baker Street, the home and office of the most famous detective in the world. Can we really visit, do you think? Oh, pinch me, I'm sure I must be dreaming. All right, let's go. Ooh, cutscene.
Thank you very much. It's just up there overlooking the street. Good day. Thanks again. This is it. The residence of Mr. Herlock Sholmes.
Oh boy. Can't wait to see this funky fella again. Oh, it's just as much of a mess as I would have thought. Oh god. Sholmes is sweet. So this is where the great detective makes his living. It feels surreal to be here somehow. Is it as described in the stories, Mr. Sato? Mr. Sato-san? Many famous cases have been solved here in this very room. Oh, I suppose they must have been, yes. I've never read the story, so it's hard to get quite as excited about it as she seems to be. The detective chases the villain relentlessly as he disappears into the fog down an unlit London street. Oh, the thrill of it, the romanticism. Can't you feel your heart thumping in your chest? Can't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, I suppose I can, yeah? So, if you don't mind, I'll just stand here and soak up the atmosphere for a while longer. Please, don't mind me. She's obsessed. Well, looks like our detective friend isn't home at present. Excuse me, is anybody home? Oh, do we have a visitor? Oh, hi. Hello, is it a big new case for Mr. Sholmes? Hello? Wait, aren't you... Oh, how rude of me. I'll go make some tea at once. I'm sure it's the same girl. It's gotta be. Mr. Sato, did you see the girl who was just here? Oh yes, isn't it truly extraordinary? I think that the King of Bohemia came to this very room to ask Mr. Sholmes to take on his case. The King of Bavaria? King Wilhelm Gottschalk Sigismund von Almstein, of course. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Forget the adventures of Herlock Sholmes for a moment and look over here. There. Tea's brewed, and I have a freshly baked cake as well. It's you! I knew it. Sasato-san recognizes her, too. Ah, there you are. And taking that with you as well. I'm looking forward to the trial run of my experimental smoke grenade launcher. Oh, good day to you. I'm, well, the inventor, I suppose, of that machine. It's the girl who turned up at the end of Mr. McGilded's trial in the defendant's antechamber. I've never met a lawyer from the Far East before. Poor you, having to get straight to work when you've only just arrived in London. Oh, yeah, it was challenging.
Well, try this tea. It's my special blend, you know.
Oh, thank you. Is tea supposed to look that color?
Oh my, what a fragrant yet mellow flavor. Hooray, it's a winner! I tried blending different leaves designed to alleviate fatigue, you see. You must be exhausted after your long voyage here, and you have another ticklish trial tomorrow. Oh, and you're to defend a Japanese man. I do wish you lots and lots of luck.
Did Mr. Sholm tell you about us by any chance?
Oh, you know Hurley, do you?
Hurley. Hurley. Mr. Sholmes to you, surely.
Mr. Sholmes was a fellow passenger on the boat that brought us to Great Britain, you see. Was he really? Well, I had no idea. I'm afraid Hurley's out on an errand again today, even though he's just returned from overseas.
Wait a tick. We met this girl for the first time ever yesterday after the trial, and only briefly at that. I wonder if she knows so much about us. Did she deduce all those things, do you think?
And perhaps more to the point, why is she here in Mrs. Sholmes' suite? Oh, silly me, I haven't introduced myself, have I? It's a great pleasure to meet you both. My name is Iris Wilson. I live here together with Hurley.
I see. Ah, Iris, is it? What a lovely name.
What?
What's the matter?
No, wait, this can't be. Did you say that your name is Wilson?
What's the matter with Sasato-san? Why is she so flustered all of a sudden?
Yes, that's right. And what are your names?
Oh, I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo, a lawyer from Japan.
Oh, sorry. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Susato Mikotoba. It's wonderful to meet you. Lovely. Susie and Runo. Got it. Susie?
And Runo? There's more to this girl than meets the eye. I have so many questions for her, I don't even know where to start.
Yes, and so do I.
Well, before that, I want to, examine everything that we've got in this room. Because there is so much around, you know? Like this machine. What on earth is this huge over-the-top machine?
That's the great analytoscope. It can analyze anything, really. Anything at all.
That's absolutely incredible.
It's one of Hurley's inventions. It took him a whole year. He said it was to help him with his investigations.
What sort of things does he analyze with it?
Do you know? Well, actually, he hasn't used it for anything yet. Oh.
Why not?
Apparently, on the evening he finally completed it, it suddenly occurred to him. I don't actually have anything I need to analyze. Oh dear. How about you, Runo? Do you have anything you'd like to analyze?
The only thing that springs to mind is this machine itself. Fair enough. It sure is a little gadget. What else we got? This? There's all sorts on these shelves. Chemistry apparatus, books, papers, and lots of things I've never seen before. It's all heaped up so high I can't help feeling that the whole lot is gonna topple at any moment.
I keep telling Hurley not to cram so much on those shelves.
Good advice.
He wanted to look something up in one of those books a while ago. But it was so tight wedged in he couldn't get it out. So I went and bought a new copy instead.
Damn. Boop. Ah, I've seen pictures of Western musical instruments like this. It's called a violin, isn't it?
Of course it is! Mr. Sholmes is renowned for his violin playing.
Oh, really?
Absolutely, it's often explained in the stories. It's inspirational, Mr. Naruhodo. Inspirational! I immediately started playing the koto, which was the closest Japanese stringed instrument I could find.
What a shame you couldn't bring it with you to London.
Oh, yes. Well, Papa was beaming when I asked if he would buy me one. But after a while, he asked if I would only practice when he was out of the house. So it's merely an ornament in my room.
That must have been an awkward conversation. It's even unlocked second-rate strings. Okay, I just get one for analyzing the violin, apparently. don't think there's anything else around here. Looks like that huge metal chest is being used as a table for tea and coffee. It seems very sturdy with an equally sturdy lock.
Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't go around opening things. I always have to keep an eye on you, don't I? You're very mischievous.
How did you come to that conclusion?
Oh, that chest! Contains some of my most valuable things.
And that smile tells me you're not going to give us any clue about what they are. Nope. Welp.
A mystery shoe, a curious hammer, some mysterious dancing men, a bust of Napoleon. Ah, what an entrancing collection!
This is the first time in my life that I've seen a lonely old shoe displayed as an ornament.
Oh, those are all mementos that Hurley has collected from his past cases.
Really? Even the bust?
Yes, that's right. When the mood takes him, he likes to throw it on the floor and
Smash it to dust. What? The poor defenseless emperor? Mr. Sholmes destroys it?
Yes, and then he buys a new one.
What? You make it sound like he has a temperament of an insane sculptor.
How entrancingly bohemian of him.
Sure. I do like this fireplace. It's one of the best things I've seen since we arrived in the country, in fact. Lingering beside the fire and watching the flames flicker and dance in the grate. Ah, it's so relaxing.
We can't relax, not when there are so many interesting things on the mantelpiece. Oh, it's just as it was described in the stories.
It is?
Yes, exactly. Inside that Persian slipper, for example, are my chocolates for 11sies. And transfixed by that large jackknife is my shopping list for the market. Oh, it's not quite how I remember it being described in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes.
Poor Sasato-san. She looks crushed. Anything else? No? Let's look over here and then we'll be done around here and we can talk, I guess. That's a charming little white shelf and full of charming little bottles too.
Oh yes, but don't touch any of those. They might explode.
Explode?
Are they exotic chemicals? Do you use them for exciting experiments? Yes, indeed. And Hurley always says, chemistry is an explosive science.
Sorry?
I agree, a single discovery can trigger an explosion of innovation all around the world.
Or perhaps he just meant it literally. Either way, mental note, do not touch any bottle that belongs to Iris. What a beautiful English tea set, and so neatly arranged.
It's a favorite pastime of mine, a cup of herbal tea in the afternoon. Tea? Made of herbs? That's right! I grow all sorts of herbs in the garden so I can experiment with different blends. One moment, don't go away. I'll brew a part of the special blend I came up with earlier today.
She looks delighted. I only hope it's safe to drink.
Boop. Ah, that's my blackboard where I note down ideas.
Oh, interesting. Let's see. Black Peter. Don't think it, don't say it, don't think it. Hey, Lois, what does that mean?
Don't you want to hear what Iris has to say, Mr. Naruhodo?
I'll come back to that blackboard later. Alright. Anything else? What on earth is that big black lump over there?
Ah, that fascinating thing is called a typewriter. It's a machine that allows you to write on paper without needing a pen. And whizzily quickly, too.
Oh, that sounds like it could be very useful for someone like me with terrible handwriting. Mood. That looks like everything. All right, Iris. Let's talk. Iris. It was you that we ran into yesterday, wasn't it? At the Old Bailey.
Yes, that's right. You were ever so helpful. Thank you so much. Oh, no, not at all. I'm so sorry we couldn't have been more welcoming.
Though at the time, we did have a rather large gun pointed at us.
Like this? Thinking back now, you left it with Miss Lestrade in tow, didn't you? You left with Miss Lestrade in tow, didn't you?
Oh yes, that awkward witness, Gina Lestrade.
Oh, Ginny, yes, he's a professional pickpocket.
So we found out.
It was very naughty of her to pinch my invention like that.
Are you referring to the trial-disrupting gun-like contraption?
Exactly! So I followed her, you see, to get it back. Perhaps I should think about fitting a self-destruct mechanism in my inventions.
This girl is dangerous.
Anyway, I brought Ginny back here after that, so she can apologize to my trusty technician.
Sorry, your technician?
Hurley, of course, silly.
Hurley?
Yes, Herlock Sholmes.
I had no idea the Great Detective had such an interesting young daughter. We live here together.
Daughter? Not likely.
What?
I wouldn't call him Hurley if he was my father, would I?
No, you'd call him Papa or something like that, I assume. Well then, what is your relationship with Mr. Sholmes?
Well, I expect you found out that lodgings of any kind in London are very expensive. The solution is to share the cost with a partner, a roommate.
Your roommates?
I hope you don't mind me asking, Iris, but how old are you? 10 at last this year.
What? I would have guessed like 13 or 14. 10? Well, what of your mother and father?
Oh no, they're not around.
Oh, I see. I wonder what the story is there. I mean, we knew a Wilson before, so uh-oh. Fucking 10. Wild. An extraordinary young girl who lives with Mr. Sholmes. She has a degree in medicine and is the author of a popular series of short stories. Actually, let me check the map. Briar Road, Calabash Road, Meerschaum Street. Wilson.
Or is there something I must ask you? Of course. Go ahead, Susie. I'm a very great fan of the adventures of Herlock Sholmes, and oh, you have a copy of Rand's magazine. Yes, I read every issue. It's delivered all the way to Japan on a ship. Oh, this is so exciting. My stories are being read on the other side of the world.
My stories.
That's right. Hurley is always solving such amazing cases, you see, and he tells me all about them. They really are quite fascinating. It would be such a shame if I was the only one who ever heard them, don't you think?
Goodness.
Last night he was telling me all about a new case he just solved on a steamship traveling from a faraway land. So I was just in the middle of typing up the manuscript for the next issue before you came.
So you were the author. Huh.
Yes, I'll let you in on a secret if you like. I'm gonna call this latest adventure The Speckled Band.
The Speckled Band? That's certainly very familiar.
Of course, I always change one or two details in the stories here and there. This time, I had the idea of making a venomous snake be the cause of all the trouble.
Oh, that was Mr. Sholmes' first thought as well, actually.
Yes, and of course, I know that a snake might not be a credible fit for the facts of the case exactly, but it's a story. Some poetic license is justified to make it more thrilling, I think. Don't you?
So, do you mean to say, are the stories about Mr. Sholmes that are published in Rand's magazine
all written by me? Yes, on my wonderful and very modern typewriter.
But the stories I've all the stories I've ever read are written by a doctor of medicine, Dr. John H. Wilson. Susato-san's getting more and more worked up.
Ah, yes, that's me. I mean, my name really is Wilson.
But what about the doctor of medicine part?
That's all true, too. I am a doctor of medicine.
No, at 10 years old?
At 10 years old.
Well, that's quite incredible.
But,
Dr. Wilson is an English gentleman.
Ah, yes. I did alter the setting slightly for the stories to be more compelling. Oh. Well, sounds a little strange, doesn't it? A great detective with a 10-year-old girl in tow. I suppose it does, yes.
Poor Sasato-san. She looks like her whole world is just falling apart. Tell me about your deductions. About before.
Yes, what's on your mind, Bruno? Do tell me.
How did you know that I was a lawyer and we just arrived in London? I mean,
Yes. Oh, and that we have a difficult trial tomorrow. How'd you know about all that? Oh, that's what you mean. Please, tell us how you did it. Explain every detail.
please explain excruciating detail. Whoops.
Of course, I'd be delighted, although there's really no mystery. Now, let's begin. Iris Wilson is proud to present her Logic and Reasoning Spectacular.
Oh shit, we're doing this again? Oh, it looks different though.
First of all, I already knew that you were a lawyer, Runa. After all, I met you yesterday at the Old Bailey in the defendant's antechamber.
But you also said that we'd only just arrived in London. How did you know that?
I observed the passport and travel ticket protruding from your breast pocket.
Oh,
So I was reasonably confident that you must have only just arrived in the country. And on top of that, you accepted the case against that particular prosecutor, telling me you were unaware of London's court affairs.
the Reaper of the Bailey? I walked right into that one, didn't I?
Then I noticed the red ink stamp on the back of Susie's hand. You were given that when you visited the local prison to meet with the suspects, weren't you? Earlier today. They use those stamps to keep a close eye on comings and goings, you see. I didn't realize. And a red stamp is only used with people visiting foreign inmates. So that told me that even though you had only yesterday concluded the trial of Magnus McGilded, the two of you had already had cause to visit a foreign inmate at a local prison. However, neither of you was wearing a particularly sad expression on your face. So I concluded that the prisoner was unlikely to be a friend or a relative. That led me to believe that you must have accepted a new case.
I see.
But how could you have known that the trial is tomorrow? Well, having barely been home a few hours yesterday, Hurley solved yet another case. It obviously amused him. He told me that he caught a Japanese man who was bawling and trembling.
A Japanese man? Well, clearly that must have been...
Mr. Natsume! Now, Runo has that fancy Japanese sword. And I think your outfit is called a kimono, isn't it, Susie? Well, anyway, it was clear to me that you both come from Japan yourselves. So I put two and two together and decided you must be defending the Japanese man Hurley caught.
that all checks out.
There's only one conclusion that those facts could lead me to. You both came here to ask Hurley about the case.
Yeah? I guess, yeah, that all tracks.
There's a note on the mantelpiece that says the man's trial will be tomorrow. Hurley is always stabbing his nose with a knife, you know. He's silly. And that's all there was to it, really. Thank you for listening. I'm Iris Wilson, and that was one of my great deductions. Well, was it a winner? Were my deductions correct?
They were spot on.
That was amazing, Iris. Truly a great deduction.
You've managed to certain something of Mr. Sholm's delivery.
Oh, well, I was just copying Hurley's style for that.
Fair enough.
It really is very good news. You could tell us all about the case involving the Japanese man. You will, won't you, Iris? Please.
Tell me everything you know. So yesterday, Mr. Sholmes apprehended a Japanese man, you were saying.
Yes. Hurley had just arrived back in London after his sea voyage. But the police were waiting for him at the railway station to take him directly to the crime scene.
Ah, the great detective is a popular man, it seems.
Apparently, a woman was stabbed on a quiet street somewhere in town. There were witnesses who had seen a short, shifty-looking, stooped man running away from the scene. A short, shifty-looking, stooped man?
Mr. Natsume, beyond any doubt. Soseki-san said that he didn't see anybody else on the street at all, but it seems there were witnesses after all.
Early used his great detective powers to determine the man's address. It was a lodging room, very nearby. He went directly there with the police, and what did they find? A short, shifty-looking, stooped man, shivering in fear.
Mr. Sholm's great deduction certainly hit the mark that time.
Of course it did, he's a great detective!
Still, that means the incident occurred only 2 days ago. Surely tomorrow is too soon for a trial, isn't it?
Definitely. We have no time to investigate properly. Hurley says that London is rife with crime.
Oh.
Scotland Yard is doing its best, but they can't stay on top of it, apparently. Oh dear, I hadn't realized the situation was so dire. That's why they can't afford to spend too much time investigating cases and trying the criminals in court. Staff and money are both short. Crimes are usually pinned on the first suspicious person. That's terrible. I suppose it's the harsh reality of the workings of the world's greatest justice system.
I suppose it is. But in that case, I don't hold out much hope for Soseki-san. Thank you for answering so many of our questions, Iris. This has been very informative.
Oh, you're most welcome. I've had so much fun.
Do you happen to know where Mr. Sholmes is at the moment? As you guessed, we'd like to ask him some questions about this case as well.
I expect Hurley is still investigating the scene.
Of the case involving Mr. Natsume, you mean?
Yes, Mr. Natsume? Hurley said he was going to the man's lodgings. If you leave now, you'll probably catch him there. Iris, do you know where those lodgings are? Well, I imagine the police are still investigating the scene of the crime themselves, aren't they? Did you happen to come across a detective by the name of Gregson while you were there?
Yes, we know Inspector Gregson. Mr. Luigi!
Ah, goody, in that case. Give Gregsy this from me, would you? If you do that, I'm sure he'll tell you what you want to know.
What is this?
A 5-shilling piece and a postcard, it seems.
Iris's postcard has been entered into the court record. A card for Inspector Gregson with a message on the back from Iris.
It reads, "Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem." This will make the inspector help us, will it?
Well, thank you, Iris. We'll give it a try.
Good luck then. I'm going to return to writing my manuscript, The Speckled Band. And I'll be making more special blends of tea, so come back again soon. We'd be delighted. Thank you so much, Iris.
What a nice kid.
Well, Mr. Naruhodo, it's back to the scene of the crime.
So, somewhat dubious if they would exert any influence over the man of Scotland Yard at all, we headed back to the scene with Iris's curious note and one of the world's heaviest silver coins in hand. Is that a to be continued bit? Yep, okay. Well, I assume we're only going to get through the investigation today, which means good. I'm not going to finish a case. I'm not going to finish another case in one day. I need to pace myself. It looks as though the police are still here, carrying on with their investigation.
Perfect! So let's find Inspector Gregson as quickly as possible.
Yes, and let's see if he'll take a break from his chips to look at that silver tip Iris gave us for him. That was almost bars, Ryu. Hey! Take it.
Inspector Gregson, do you have a moment?
I'm sorry to say I don't. I'm a very busy man. Too much busy to talk to a fair foreign gadabout, that's a for sure.
We have these for you. A present from Miss Iris Wilson.
What? For me? From her ladyship?
Her ladyship?
Give her that here at once! Come on, hand it over, that's for me. Ugh!
Don't wait for me to give it to you, will ya? What was that coin exactly?
It's a silver crown, obviously, but it's a lot more than that. It's it's an appearance fee, that's what it is.
An appearance fee? Oh, I see. You mean...
That's right, for the adventures of Herlock Sholmes, her ladyship always offers me a little financial reward for featuring me. Every time.
Yes, yes, of course. I know all about your exploits, Inspector. I read them avidly.
Of course, her using my name without my say-so does make me the butt of a lot of unpleasant jokes. But still.
I am sorry, Inspector. That must be difficult for you.
Never you mind that. So, what do you want to know then, eh?
Sorry?
Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem, it says. Well, obviously it's not the problem. Go on, fire away. What do you want to know?
Well, if you wouldn't mind, Inspector, we'd very much like to know the address of Mr. Natsume's lodgings.
Ah, the little knife-wielding, mustached Japanese fella. He lives in a right old hovel. It's just over there. Look.
Oh, that's the place? Damn, we were right in front of it the whole time.
On the first floor of that house in the corner where that wreck of a bicycle's popped up.
That is nearby indeed.
If I remember rightly, the landlord is a Mr. John Gerideb.
I don't get it. I'm trying to analyze these for jokes. The famous Ace Attorney name puns.
Right, well, if you see her again, you make sure to give her ladyship my regards, you hear? I mean it. You tell her that Gregson sends his very best wishes.
Don't worry, Inspector. We will.
Goodbye for now, then. And long live her ladyship.
Well, at least he told us what we wanted to know before he left.
Yeah, so then, shall we go and see what we can find in Mr. Natsume's lodgings?
Definitely.
Let's go. A new location has been added, Mr. Natsume's lodgings. List of lodgings of Mr. Soseki Natsume, according to information gleaned from Inspector Gregson. Alright. Why the fuck has he got a cannon in his house? Among other war-related things, it looks like. May I help you? Oh, yes, would this be the residence of Mr. John Gerideb?
Indeed it would, sir. Whom I say is calling.
My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
Mr. Naruhodo is representing Mr. Soseki Natsume. I believe he takes lodgings here? We would very much like to ask him some questions about our client. One moment, please. I shall convey the message to Mr. Gerideb. Did you see that, Miss Osato? That was a real-life English maid. I know. As I understand it, anyone of standing in English society employs a number of household staff. But that was the first time I've seen one in the flesh. Oh, this day keeps getting better.
It certainly feels like we've really arrived now, doesn't it?
We'll need to only meet a butler and the experience will be complete.
Well, I'm not sure if I'd go that far, but I understand the sentiment.
Thank you for waiting. Mr. Gerideb will see you now. This way.
Oh, look at this crescent moon looking motherfucker. I will talk with him in a moment. That uniform looks fairly ancient, doesn't it?
It's clearly being well looked after, though.
That old thing? Not much better than rags, really.
Oh,
Wore that ceremonial garb at my retirement bash, you know. But I'm not one for dwelling on the past, me. Would have gladly thrown it out, but you know how it is. Anyway, doesn't hurt to have the old piece of memorabilia lying around, does it?
Oh, I see.
perhaps we should leave the past in the past. Cannon. That's a full-size cannon! What's it doing in here?
Oh my, it's real! I thought it might be a replica.
That old thing? That's little more than a toy.
Sorry?
The army was selling it off when I retired, so I decided to give it a new home. Never know when the enemy might attack next.
Jolly useful to have a cannon about the house. Bruh. Excuse the hell out of me? Why would... This place is already run down and sloppy. Why would you want to shoot a cannon in it? Really? It isn't overkill? Be prepared, I always say. You never know what this twisted world is going to throw at you next. Boy.
Do you think there may be trouble brewing, Mr. Garrideb?
Always is. Take Joan here. Never fails. Have a clean apron in reserve. Dries them over the barrel, you see. They dry very well in the cannon there, Joan tells me. Which rather proves my point, I feel.
It's been reduced to a drying rack. No wonder the huge can looks like it's hanging its head in shame. Damn.
Investigated thoroughly, but I can't find anything. Okay, I thought maybe there was something like with that. Look at this crockery on display here. It's rather unusual, isn't it?
Oh my, a genuine London dresser. Isn't it delightful? All those shelves seem to be broken and the crockery is, oh dear, it's in pieces.
It really is. The word cracked wouldn't do that chinaware justice.
I wonder.
Perhaps the cannon was fired at it. Yes, probably something like that, but let's not delve too deeply here. Wouldn't the cannon blast a hole through it, though? Just saying.
This window looks out over Briar Road where the young woman was attacked.
Oh yeah, I can make out the policeman on the far side of the road investigating the crime scene.
The glass is rather murky, isn't it? You can't see very clearly.
Is this thing open at all, I wonder? I shouldn't underestimate the bitterness of a London winter, sir. Sorry? As soon as you open that window, the tea will freeze in the pot. No Londoner would go opening windows at dusk in the middle of winter, I assure you. Seems very unlikely that these two would have seen anything of the incident then. Okay, I mean, I know, I was gonna ask why are we here, but I know why we're here. It's just, yeah. That portrait of Mr. Garrideb is glaring at me, I swear.
Have you noticed that all the little frames contain photographic prints of Mr. Garrideb as well?
Yeah, and there seems to be a statue of a lion on the mantelpiece as well. Ah, yes, seemed to come back from the local pawnbroker with that little trinket. Seemed to come back? Well, what do you mean? The chap who runs the place is a bally wizard. Went in to sell him something and came out with that thing. In point of fact, now I think about it, I'll rather often find myself leaving the place with something I don't need.
The lion ornament certainly does seem surplus to requirements.
Chisato-san doesn't pull her punches, or her throws for that matter. Alright, let's talk, buddy. Damn second coming of Luke at. Wait, did Luke at me? I think he had a crescent moon type thing going on. Let me look him up before I do that diss. Not really. I'm thinking of somebody else. I wonder what that I wonder what the crescent moon fit reminds me of then. Huh. Good day to you, John Garrideb at your service.
Pleased to meet you, sir. This is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. He's a defense lawyer.
Do excuse me not getting up. Took a shot to the knee a few years back in the Battle of Maiwan, don't you know? Earned the medal for my pains, but I had to withdraw from service. Handed over the reins to the up-and-comings. So he's a retired soldier. It's a hell of a job getting up and down stairs now, I tell ya. Don't get out much as you can imagine. Yes, it's quite a climb up here to the second floor, isn't it? I was panting at the top of the stairs.
You really must take more exercise, Mr. Naruhodo.
Do you think so?
Well, Mr. Garrideb, no doubt you were very courageous to earn yourself a medal.
Oh, it was nothing. The medal's just a folderol, really. Wouldn't like to offend the general, though, so I grudgingly displayed it on the wall. Why don't you fetch it down, Joan? Let these good people see it properly. Joan! Fetch the... Ah! That's it, old woman! Be careful!
Oh, dearie me, I do beg your pardon, sir.
You jolly nearly took the skin off my hands!
I shall be more careful, sir.
So, anyway, there you have it. Living the quiet life now.
Yes, I see.
Now then, I hear you want to know about the chap lodging downstairs, is that right?
Yes, we would be very grateful if you could answer some questions for us.
Only two, please, naturally. Especially if it helps to keep the peace here in Blighty. We've forged an alliance with the Empire of Japan recently, as I'm sure you're aware. So this case is very much in the public eye, as it were.
Oh, is it?
Even had some famous detective poking around, you know, in this old house. Would you believe?
Yes, Mr. Herlock Sholmes.
Could have been. Didn't catch the chap's name. Not really my cup of tea, all that detective business.
Oh, but you have a copy of the...
No.
Anyway, this chap's investigating the floor in his room as we speak.
So he's in Soseki-san's room. It's a bally nuisance is what it is. The whole neighborhood's twitching its curtains now. I don't like all this fuss. It's jolly unsettling.
About Mr. Natsume then, Mr. Garrideb, please, do tell us.
Ah, yes, the Japanese chap. Only been lodging here for a week.
Oh, just 1 week?
It's been. So he moved in very recently then. I have two lodges most of the time. One's on the ground floor and one just below us. The first floor room became available a week ago, you see. There have been... That's it all, Joan. Do be careful.
Oh, my goodness, I'm terribly sorry, sir. If you want to know my opinion, I thought he was a shady sort from the moment I set eyes on him.
Okay, so my suspects are these two now.
Oh, why?
He seemed to have a most nervous disposition, always shaking and looking over his shoulder. The man had shady written across his sweat-soaked brow, if you ask me. I said to myself, Joan, that man is trouble. Sooner or later he's going to do something untoward. And I'm rarely wrong about anything.
We won't be calling this maid as a witness, that's for sure.
Was there anything else that struck you as suspicious about the man at all?
Yes, oh yes, indeed there was.
And she's dying to tell us. Tell us about the lodger.
Had you noticed anything else about your lodger, Mr. Natsume? Sorry. Had you noticed anything else about your lodger, Mr. Natsume?
Oh my word, yes, the man was shadier than an orchard.
Could you elaborate?
Well, take the man's room. Absolutely stuffed full of books it is. More than anyone could ever read. There's so much as passing the time of day with another living soul. I haven't seen a single visitor call. He has trots off to that old bookshop every single day. Comes back at 5 to light the gas fire. And the funny little man is up long past the time everyone else in the house has gone to bed, too.
The funny little man. Oh, I see.
The gentleman of the ground floor goes to bed at around 9 each night. I've never known that Japanese fellow to retire any earlier than 2 in the morning.
Ah. Could you clarify something, I wonder?
What, pray?
How do you know so much about Mr. Natsume's routine?
Oh!
I understood that neither of the lodgers live on this floor of the house, is that correct?
That's right, yes, they're both below us. On the first floor and street level.
Then how is it that you know so much about the lives of your lodgers? The precise times they've come back in the evening, for example. Even the times they go to bed. Also, I'm just realizing, because of the way his hair is put together, it's a fucking mohawk, damn.
Good grief, Joan, be more careful, woman.
I know it's to fit the crescent moon look, but goddamn, he's rocking that hawk, apparently.
Oh my goodness, sir! I'm terribly sorry, sir!
Something doesn't add up here. It seems the incident took place at around 5 in the evening. Did you happen to look out of the window at around that time?
The window.
Yes, we noticed that the window over there looks out over Briar Road.
The incident that took place on the pavement just on the far side of the street. Was there anyone suspicious loitering around?
5 o'clock is dinner time in the Garrideb household, so I'm afraid I don't remember seeing anything. How about you, Joan?
No, sir. Would have been dusk outside already at that hour. And with the fog as well, I should think it would have been quite impossible to see the other side of the road.
Oh, I see.
Did you say anything else out of the ordinary then?
Such as?
Anything at all, even if it seems unrelated.
Well. Yes? Was there something then? Well, it's nothing particularly significant, but around that sort of time in the year, then. For the love of God, Joan! Watch what you're doing!
Oh, dearie me, what have I done? I'm awfully sorry, sir.
Do be more careful, woman!
Of course, sir. If I may, Mr. Narrow Hollow.
Oh, yes?
I have an exceedingly good memory, and as far as I remember, nothing of any significance took place at that hour. Nothing at all.
Oh, really? Mr. Garadeb? The way you were talking before, it sounded rather like there might have been. Oh, well, as I was saying, it was just a trifling matter, really. Nothing of... Joan! Dash it all! What is the matter with you, woman?
Begging your pardon, sir. Nothing happened.
Yes, quite. Nothing happened. We sat down to a quiet, uneventful meal. Joan?
That's right, Mr. Garadeb.
What is the matter with these two?
It sounds like something happened here in this room on the evening of the incident, but what?
I wish I knew. I wish I knew. Mr. Natsume's room. Tell me where. Tell me where. Can you tell us which floor Mr. Natsume's room is on? Why, certainly. Just below us on the first floor.
And Mr. Sholmes is investigating there even as we speak?
Yes, told me Natsu's name and asked me to look into the matter, so I gave him the key.
Mr. Natsume has engaged Mr. Sholmes' services?
That's a blatant lie. Would it be alright if we also had a look around? In Mr. Natsume's room, I mean. Don't see why not. It's just down one flight of stairs. Not sure we'll find anything that can help us with the case, but we have to try.
We need all the clues we can lay our hands on.
Shall we?
Yes, and while we're there, we can speak with Mr. Sholmes again. Perhaps he'll be able to tell us more.
Alright, let's get out of here. These fancy fucks need their space. And when they're a little worse for the wear, English rooms are so splendidly colorful. A small, dark room rented by a visiting scholar from the Empire of Japan by the name of Soseki Natsume. Oh, cat! Kitty. What? Just look at this place. And smell it. It's so musty in here. I suppose the mountains of old books are responsible for that.
I don't think I've ever seen so many books in all my life.
No, me neither. It's so dark in here, too.
Is that the window over there?
Well, it was the window, I think, yes. Once upon a time. But for some reason, it's been closed up with bricks and mortar. So, this is where Mr. Natsume lives.
By the way, I haven't spotted Mr. Sholmes anywhere, have you?
No, that's true, but according to what Mr. Garadeb told us, the great detective should be around here somewhere investigating. Let me guess. Oh, I thought he was going to be clinging to a wall. I don't actually see him this time. Huh. Let's go from left to right.
Oh, look, it's a beckoning cat from home.
It's a bit big and bulky, isn't it? Surely Mr. Natsume didn't bring that Maneki Neko all the way from Japan with him.
I hardly think you're in a position to comment, Mr. Naruhodo. Are you forgetting the enormous Daruma doll that you brought in your luggage?
Well, it could be dangerous traveling abroad. I want a Lucky Charm.
Well, I imagine Mr. Natsume wanted the same, and this cat is sure to beckon good luck to him.
It's not doing a very good job so far, is it?
You mustn't say such things.
I didn't say a word.
Why are my eyes such a giveaway?
Okay, what else? Look at all those books. They're stacked up to the ceiling.
They're all works of English literature, and they all smell so musty.
With this volume of books to hand, you'll never be short of reading material, would you?
No, what a dreamy idea.
A bad dream, maybe. For me, at least. Mind you, I don't imagine the book that's at the bottom of the pile now will ever be read again.
Ah, so reading is an experience that comes but once in a lifetime, just as the tea ceremony teaches us.
I certainly didn't expect the conversation to turn down the path of the tea ceremony philosophy. Anything else around here? I want to know what that box is, but it's nothing interesting, apparently.
That desk seems to be wedged into a crevasse between the mountains of books on either side.
I suppose Mr. Natsume would sit there and read while stroking his cat. But surrounded on all sides by his towering old tomes, surely he dreamt of books every night as well.
Yes, he must have done, mustn't he? Oh, what's this? It's a receipt from a second-hand bookshop. Your books.
Oh yes, Mr. Natsume's name is on it. Look, a date of purchase 2 days ago at 4:45 p.m. That's the day of the incident.
That's just the short while before he was embroiled in a terrible attack. He must have been on his way back from buying some old books.
Wee wee. The receipt discovered in Mr. Natsume's room for some books that he had purchased from a second-hand bookshop before the incident occurred. Okay. Neat. Bricks. Oh god, the bricks. They've come too close. Can you even call this a window?
I think so. It was a window at one time, after all. Although all that remains is a frame around some bricks now.
So really it's just a wall then, isn't it? Why would anyone deliberately brick it up like that?
I'm afraid I have no idea. Ah! Perhaps Mr. Natsume painted the brick design in a fit of whimsy.
That's alarmingly feasible. Anyway, whatever the reason, the lack of ventilation here makes the place very oppressive.
It does. I imagine being cooped up in a room like this would be extremely trying.
Cat. Kitty. Look at this little thing. Aww.
Oh my, what an adorable little cat. Perhaps he's looking after all the books while his master is away.
I don't know about that. He disappeared into that pile of books as quick as a flash. It was a tricolor Mickey, wasn't it? Do they even have that sort of cat here in Britain?
Perhaps Mr. Natsume brought the little creature with him from Japan.
That's made me feel homesick now.
Already? We've only been in the country for 2 days.
Damn, we can't. Oh, now the kitty's gone. Well. Oh, fuck! What? You weren't here before! Hi!
Ah! Look, Mr. Naruhodo!
Aha! There he is! Where did he appear from?
He seems to be engrossed in the pages of an old book. I hope he won't mind if we disturb him. Hello, Mr. Sholmes!
Hi. Ah, you two. Good day.
Now, let me see. Where was it that we met? Oh, Mr. Sholmes, we were together on the SS Burya.
Yes, of course, the Burya. And let me see. What happened on that voyage? It was Kazuma Hosogi. He died tragically, but you were a great help to us. Ah, yes, but of course, the case of Mr. Hosogi. It was the one with the snake, wasn't it?
Oh,
Well, you seem to remember something of it at least.
what an honor to be remembered vaguely by the great Herlock Sholmes. This is Mr.
Oh, no, my dear madame. Hold your tongue. I pride myself on my superior powers of recollection. Your names are safely recorded in my brain attic. Miss Naruhodo. And Mr. Susato. Wah, wah. Try the other way around, Mr. Sholmes. I lose the first round.
In truth, I had hoped to invite you both to my Baker Street suite the day we arrived in London, but some Scotland Yarders ambushed me at the railway station and whisked me away to a crime scene. It was an entirely trivial case, of course. I solved the matter in no more than 30 minutes.
So they apprehended Soseki-san in that short an amount of time?
I'm afraid the pursuance of a new case has dulled my recollection of past involvements a little.
A little?
It is a mistake to think that one's brain attic has elastic walls and can distend to any extent. I do my best to forget useless facts,